It's another week in the For Your Reference household, but it's the last ever so delicious, delightful offering. Welcome to Power August, friends and lovers, where we will catch you up on all of the offerings in the multi-faceted Power universe. Friends and undefeated Egan lovers, welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host, Katie.
And Oti.
Navigate Gangs of Dublin through way of Chicago. Open your heart to familial love with the Power Universe's force, or as Black Twitter would say, Tommy this week.
Mm-hmm.
Friends and lovers, hopefully you're enjoying the power run that we have. Most recently, we did cover Raising Kanan, and I did go through the general stats and information, so I'm not necessarily going to cover it now. I think, we're ready for the whole length of Force, if you're nasty.
Oh, for sure.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about all of the things. We did get a little bit of instances of Tommy throughout the Ghost sort of seasons, but this is really, the next sort of chapter in Tommy's book. If you'll pardon the pun, after, the events and the fallout, and especially after he shot Ghost's love of his life. Mm-hmm. So let's talk generally about Tommy's character. Spoiler. Christmas. Let's just talk generally about how we left the end of Power with Tommy's character, and I guess also how we meet him in this show.
So we love Tommy. He's one of the fan faves.
Mm-hmm.
It's especially when he heard that they're going to do a spin-off. It was one of the shows that I wanted it to be the first one.
Yeah.
Even before Tariq. And I was
it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, like, Tariq, give it Tommy all day. But you know what? Good things come to those who wait. And wow, I thought that I could not love this anymore than I did. But wow, it's just amazing seeing Tommy navigated without feeling like he's being checked or he has to he has to run something by a ghost or anything like that. We're just seeing him in his element, making all decisions by himself and what he does and what he knows. And wow, it creates such a great atmosphere and you just want to be in it.
Like he literally just implanted himself into Chicago without any sort of connections. And I think that's what we absolutely love about Tommy. And to be perfectly honest, I praise a lot of penmanship, and there's obviously a lot of sharpened penmanship in this show, but I would literally watch Tommy do anything. If I can borrow an Atlanta, almost final season, but if I can borrow an Atlanta reference, I would watch Tommy go to France and pretend to be Amelie. Maybe I wouldn't have been as frustrated if he was the Amelie character. But yeah, I love everything about Tommy. And, obviously you can relate it to real life, and crime is bad, drugs are bad. But if we're also going to talk about that, we should also talk about systemic structures and lack of employment and opportunities. But no one wants to talk about that because it's not sexy. So let's just focus on the fact that we fucking love Tommy. Yes, he has homicidal sort of tendencies, but it's such a muy caliente experience to watch Tommy. Even when he accidentally killed someone falling off of the roof in Power, he's just so much fun. And I absolutely love it. And you're absolutely right. The OT crypto bros of it all, he was very bankable. Like it was a given that we were going to love a Tommy show. But fortune favors Matt Damon.
Yeah, Tommy apparently.
Chicago's Matt Damon. So let's cover the themes that we've been covering all throughout Power August. Let's talk about legacy. I guess the difference with Tommy's character is we're not necessarily getting a future, like a forward future or a backward sort of past. It's kind of just Tommy as he exists in the Power sort of timeline. So I guess when we talk about legacy, I guess what do you think is the trajectory for Tommy, aside from the fact that, again, if there's no character growth for Tommy, I'm absolutely fine with that. But I guess sort of for the legacy that he's laying out, what do you capture for his character?
I think he has to be tied with JP and DMAC.
Nice.
We're introduced to JP, who's Tommy's brother.
Yeah, wild. Wild.
Yeah, and he's struggling for money. Tommy's there's like, he just don't want to do this shit. He doesn't want to bring him to their life, but he's keen, he's eager, and you know what? He's a grown-ass man. He's going to make his own decisions.
Yeah, but his hand will still be in Tommy's pocket. So how grown-ass of a man is he?
I meant it more in terms of him trying to get into the game and Tommy trying to keep him out. But yeah, like, it's interesting to just see all that unfold. And the fact that DMAC or Tommy knew that DMAC existed and it was his nephew, it was so interesting to see that sort of the glow in Tommy's eyes, seeing, oh man, I've got family.
Yeah, and we talked about it when we were covering the final season of Power. Even in the very early seasons of Power, Tommy would always be around, for breakfast, sipping on his orange juice and really just enjoying spending time with Tasha and the kids. And I guess Ghost was there in the background as well. But Tommy really craved, not even just the functioning, but he craved some sort of family unit. And that's obviously not what Kate gave him. And to know and to find out that he actually has a brother, I think the way that he found out was very fucked up, but it was very on brand for Kate.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, who Kate is as a person doesn't necessarily give like an excuse for Tommy and who he is and the decision he makes. But again, because Tommy, and I just love, like, obviously he does some shitty, terrible things, but at the core of it, for those that he loves, he'll always go hard for.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of already talked about the next sort of thing. We're talking about a brotherhood with JP, and I kind of want to dig a little bit deeper into that sort of dynamic. Do you think there are any sort of parallels or maybe some contrasting opposites of his dynamic with JP compared to Ghost?
Yeah, Ghost is a killer. Ghost is someone you don't joke around with, He's been through pretty much what Tommy has been through since they were kids.
Yeah.
With JP, he's been on the out, He's had his dad who took care of him.
Yeah.
He's always had that family member, and he's taking that responsibility to now look after the dad and everything else.
Yeah.
Even though everything's falling apart and he's struggling to get that money, he's still there. So there's a lot of things that is so completely opposite to what Ghost is. And yeah, it's weird to see that Tommy is now the baddest person in that relationship,
Well, we already talked about spoilers, and because I really want to talk about the Brotherhood, I really want to come to like near the end of season 1. And I want to talk about the decisions that were being made, because up until this point, I don't think JP was aware that DMAC was his son, right?
He's an idiot though,
Do you think he should have known?
He should have realized something's up. He just thought the same kid would come up and throw bricks through his window, do shit to him just because.
Yeah.
Nah, come on now.
I do find that a bit unbelievable. But maybe as we start to learn a bit more about JP, or maybe he was just preoccupied with all of the shit that he had to deal with, I have no idea about. But there was absolutely an instance that really fucking frustrated me, especially about JP, when, first of all, apparently JP, like you said, like the clues were there. And Agatha Christie, he was not. Like the clues were there. He chose not to see it, but he directed his anger when DMAC was in hospital. He directed his anger at Tommy. Thoughts, feelings? I want to talk about it.
Yeah, stupidly so. You didn't know he was your son. You didn't care.
Yeah.
Tommy, yes, knew a day or 2 days prior, but that doesn't mean he has to tell you immediately.
But why are you getting mad over something that you didn't even know that you had?
And your son is in the game.
Yeah. He's embedded, bro.
He's embedded. Stop trying to pretend as if it's all Tommy's fault. He's been there for a minute. It's not him. The blame is solely on you, And you can always argue, oh, he didn't know about the kid or whatever. The clues were there.
there's obviously a lot that has to be worked through, but I guess that's also proof that they are biological brothers. Just dealing with it in very wonky ways. But, D-Mac he brings, I guess, a new sort of found hope, maybe even for Tommy, to, that sort of relationship that he had with Tariq. Maybe that's something that, he can have with D-Mac. The brotherhood is interesting, but there was something a bit frustrating. I don't know. I didn't gel with JP's character, I think is what I'm saying, because everything I'm saying about him, I didn't necessarily care for. Like him telling Tommy like, oh, I want to mount up. I want to be, it's like, bruh, you weren't made for this. And even if you were, going to be made for this, you aren't now. So just do the safe shit, get the easy money. And he's like, oh, I don't want charity. And it's like, bro, you're not useful right now. So if anything, you're like Cyril Figures. By you staying out of the way, you're adding a lot of value.
He wanted to learn how to fish, darling.
I don't know. I'm not saying that like keep him away, or maybe I don't know, OT. Maybe this is a manifestation of toxic masculinity. Maybe he felt like he needed to be out in the streets in order to prove that he could get the easy money. But in any case, he was just going to get in the way.
No, I just think he dug himself in such a deep hole in debt that if Tommy continued just giving him money, he'll always ask him for handouts over and over. And no one wants to do that. So he's like, you know what? Might as well try and be in the game and get it for myself. And that's respectable.
Yeah, but that's also nepotism, because where did he prove that he deserved to be where he is? He literally just got the spot because he's Tommy's brother.
And that's why we love nepotism.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Jannard in a second. But let's move on to the next one. We've kind of already talked about family. Education, I don't think necessarily, unless we're talking about like street smarts, like I don't think that necessarily applies to force. But let's talk about the kingpins. We essentially have three different forces, if you'll pardon the pun. We've got the Flynns, which we'll come to. We've also got Diamond's crew, and there's obviously a divide within that as well. And then we've also got the Serbs that kind of become the through line, from power into force. And, you see the ramifications of decisions that were made previously in power, it coming into force as well. And then I guess you can also talk about the fourth element. You can also talk about Tommy literally being a sovereign state in Chicago. But, Tommy's always going to look after number one. And I guess also JP and D-Mac, they're a part of that kindling of a family. But let's talk about the kingpins. Do you want to start with Diamond's crew, or do you want to talk about the Flynns from Dublin?
Let's start with our Dublin brothers.
If you haven't heard us reference it in the Power August, friends and lovers, go and check out Kin as well as our Kin episode that we have. Let's talk about Walter Flynn. As far as we understand, they're not necessarily, grown roots inside of America. They've felt very first generation Irish into Chicago, as like it's not like a Godfather lineage of peeps. So let's get a bit of a feeling about Walter Flynn's character. I think the most impressionable sort of initial introduction to Walter was Tommy coming to him because Vic was on his fuckboy shit, and like Tommy had to pick up the pieces with that. So at least from me, I was getting the impression that Walter has a couple of incompetent children. I also believe, I'm just going to say now, that Claudia is also incompetent and she's useless. I don't think it's just because she's a woman she was put to the side. But my Wonder Woman feelings aside, let's talk about Walter Flynn. What did you think, first of all, the way he was introduced to the show, and how did you think he was as a patriarch?
I knew I wouldn't like him from the get-go.
Because?
He's very old school.
Okay.
He's very stick to with our kind sort of fella.
Wow, even when you say it, it's got a venom.
No, I just knew his vibe. He is old school Irish.
We don't take kindly to your kind around here.
Yeah, and you know what? the minute they introduced Diamond going to meet him, like that scene was so crazy, and it was exactly what I expected.
But didn't you see in the TV series Kin, there were so many black people?
Yeah, surprisingly, you thought they would have gotten used to it.
And they were just existing. They were just existing and not being racially vilified. What a world.
Yeah, what a world, who would have thought?
But not in Chicago.
Nah. I'll draw a line somewhere.
Okay. Well, racism aside, do you feel like he was, at least efficient? Because the kingpins we've talked about, we've talked about Rock, we've talked about Monet, and I think you can even talk about Tariq as well in Ghost. We don't really have anyone to look forward to from a kingpin point of view, except for maybe Unique. How do you feel he stacks up? Do you think he's quite competent, racism aside?
He's semi-competent. I think he's still stuck. My way of getting money back then works. I'm just going to do cocaine and that's it.
Yeah.
Even when Black Dahlia was introduced, it was like, nah, that shit is a fad. It'll go out. It'll go away in a few. Let's continue doing what we do.
What if it was called Clover Dahlia?
That would have worked.
Yeah.
They missed the trick there.
But I get what you're saying. There was a lot of rigidity in regards to him. Like, yes, it worked and that was guaranteed stable money, but there needs to be some shaking up, reinvigoration.
Yeah, even when Tommy and Diamond were trying to get him to, come together so they can rule the whole Chicago, he was like, yeah, nah, I'm going to stay with my corner.
Yeah. If you think whatever the opposite of Prop Joe in The Wire, that's Walter Flynn.
Exactly. He was not Prop Joe.
He did not want any part of the co-op.
Nah. Unprop Flynn.
Wow. Because you're right. I don't think, because it's like, even if he's old school, there are even moments like that of respectability, but I don't think I necessarily respected the way he navigated and I guess the cut of his cloth.
I didn't like him so much that he made Vic seem like a good
You're
leader.
Right. You're right.
I'm Vic and shit. The fact that I was like, oh man, Vic needs to lead this shit.
It was nice seeing a baby Vic in Hightown. Friends and lovers, if we can be vulnerable, we did try Hightown. And if you think we should continue past a couple of episodes, let us know. But it was nice seeing him in that show. Yeah, you're right. It's interesting because he is very much like, I've got high blood pressure. Don't say anything to me. Otherwise, I'll get upset, even though women are the emotional ones. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think it was that he was written badly, but I think maybe it's that we've seen it before, No,
like he's so old school. He didn't want anything to do with Diamond and his crew. He didn't want to. He didn't want to hear the daughter at all.
Yeah.
You're just there for the accounting. The books must. The daughter's trying to say there's more I can do. She was probably doing more on the sides as well.
Well, she was pretty useless. Like,
not as useless as Flynn wanted him to make it out to be.
Yeah. No. I agree with that. But in any case, yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, he wasn't necessarily terrible. Obviously, the acting was exemplary, so that's not the reason why I didn't like him. But there was, I don't know, I was just like, wake up, old man, smell the 2020s coffee, because
and I loved him in Sons of Anarchy. He's amazing. He's a great actor. His character in this is just horrible.
But yeah, let's continue on. Vic, he came off very bratty. Obviously, he became competition. And are we not even going to address the fact that, Walter's like, I just want you with a good Irish girl. Just say you don't want your son with a black woman. Just say that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, but let's talk about Vic. He was frustrating to me near the end of the season, where literally Tommy had nothing to gain out of granting Vic and Gloria a safe passage, but he did. And what did Vic do?
Yeah, he blamed Tommy. But for him, it's understandable because he's lost the love of his life.
Oh, stop it.
But Claudia, who's been running with Tommy all this time, knows Tommy has nothing to gain from that shit.
Yeah.
She bought the father's venom from the get-go.
Yeah.
And your dad. Your dad is ain't shit.
Yeah. But I told you she wasn't competent, so that's why she flipped so easily.
Only for it all to unravel at the end, and she's like, everyone's fucking dead now. It's too late. Nah, annoying as fuck. But I do not blame Vic for being emotional or not seeing the reason for it. You know?
Yeah, no. It's understandable. And he's just loosening the grip of Daddy's hands, if you're nasty. Daddy Flanagan, if you're nasty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll be the son of his anarchy. Role play, motherfucker. Do you play it?
Oh, clearly not as intensely as you.
But no, I get it, because he was just coming into consciousness of the way that his father kind of pinned him and Claudia against each other. I absolutely understand that, but it was a bit frustrating. But I would say overall, I do like Vic as a character. I did warm to him. I think once the whole Gloria, will he, won't he, who is Gloria going to end up with? Like, once that kind of got out of the way, it was cool. And there was obviously some respectable moments where Tommy could rely on him as well. So it was really nice to see that come together. Is he a leader? By no means. But he's definitely got some interesting sort of moments that I want to be able to explore as we go into season 2. Gloria's dead, right?
Yeah, she's dead. There's no coming back from that.
How do you think that pans out for him?
He moves on. He takes over what the dad's left, and they try and push Black Dahlia.
Yeah, I think so. I wonder, what will come out of the pieces. But what do you think about Claudia's character? I couldn't stand her personally.
I didn't mind her. At least she had ambition. She wanted to, be in the game. She sourced the product. She knew Black Dahlia was going to pop, which it did.
Yeah.
The father just didn't see the value in it, but she got Tommy on board. She got a lot of people on board for that shit. So it's not like she's naive or, she's naive to some extent.
Yeah.
But that's why Tommy was there, and that's why she brought Tommy in.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to do some big boy things, you need to do it with your whole throat. You know what I mean? Like, she kept trying to do these things and then kind of recant on it or, have 80% intensity. And it's like, nah, bruh, you know what you're doing. You're double crossing Tommy as well. Like, come with that energy.
Well, she did kill some people. She was not shying away. That's for sure.
True, absolutely true. I don't know, the Walter Whiting and the kidnapping of the cook was an interesting sort of angle. To me, it kind of felt a bit out of left field. But then again, you said she's a killer, but don't push her, right? Mm-hmm. Because revenge is the sweetest joy next to getting pussy, especially for Claude, right?
Yep.
She was just using her sensuality. The power of the pum-pum.
Yeah.
The power of the Black Dahlia lips.
You should see how she uses that in Banshee.
Oh, my. What are you? A TV podcast wanker? Are you OT Sandman? Do you exist outside of TV shows we're covering?
I don't think I do.
Because the dreaming can fuck itself.
Wow.
Hold out, friends and lovers, for our Sandman review. I have much to say.
And I have much to counter with.
Oh, okay. I will counter you D&D style without any effects. Fucking nerds, man. If you're a virgin, watch The Sandman. If you fuck, watch Force.
Jesus Christ.
Well, speaking of non-virgins, let's talk about Diamond. I talked a lot about some primo sex scenes that we got throughout all of Power, even most recently in Raising Kanan. And I was talking about Rock and Symphony, not Marvin. Mm-hmm. No, thank you very much. Diamond gave us some good sex scenes with a treacherous snake in the grass, Adrian.
He was in jail for a long time,
Oh, so he needed some Black Dahlia? Some of those lips?
Yep. Both sets.
Hey, streets need some lips, eh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about Diamond. What was really interesting, and feel free to clarify, because to me, it was painted as if Diamond went in and Jannard only had it for 2-3 years. But as the season continued, Jannard was actually holding down the fort for quite a long time.
Yeah. Diamond hasn't done shit. He set it up, but nah, Janad, in as much as I don't like Janad, he held his own.
Like, he was justified in his umbrage.
15 bloody years?
Yeah.
Come on
I
now.
think that was longer than Cookie and Empire.
Yeah.
I think Cookie went for like 7-8 years.
And Cookie was bitter as fuck.
No, because literally at that point, it's a whole new operation.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand his thinking of, I've
It's
been
mine.
away for 15 years, but I'm coming out and it's mine. No, it's not.
And I think, well, it's one thing to say it's yours and it might have been rightfully his. But also at the same time, he didn't respect Janad at all. He treated Janad like he was only there for 2 minutes with a Happy Meal.
Exactly. Like, that's the dynamic would have had before he went to prison.
Yeah.
But not now, not after 15 years. You gotta give him some room to be the leader that he was throughout, regardless of whether you agree or not. But you take that shit, behind closed doors. You don't air your grievances when he has his 2 ICs there.
We know how you feel about Will Smith. It's okay. You always want to put it behind closed doors. We know. We understand. But yeah, no, because even though there were like, territory sort of wars going on and that sort of thing, to still be operating after 15 years, it deserves commendation. It deserves acknowledgement. And Diamond really, because it's like, friends and lovers, we all need an attaboy,
Yeah.
And Diamond was treating him like he was a fucking dumbass, which he may well be, but 2 things can be true, right?
They can.
He made some really rash sort of decisions, but also if you've been holding down the fort for 15 years and then you feel the control slipping through your fingers, then it kind of makes sense that you will just act up and try to go on your own.
And not just, I'll go and do another thing on the side. Nah, you got to find a way to own the thing that you've built for 15 years.
Yeah.
And sadly, it was Diamond in the way. I don't agree with what Janad tried to do, but, it's understandable.
Well, the game is the game.
It is.
Let's talk about Adrian. I thought they were having a very cute sort of tryst, and then we find out that Adrian was a bit more purposeful in her bangings, in the sense that she was trying to get a bigger story out of Diamond. What are your thoughts on that? Can you trust women again?
I don't even still trust her still, like she came out with the truth too quickly. I'm like, there has to be something else.
Yeah. If you're willing to admit that much.
No dick is that good. Like after one night, she was like, actually, I'm a reporter. No.
She's going for the platinum package. That's what she's going for.
Nah, there's something else. There has to be on a different angle there.
Because I think she wants to do a bigger story. Isn't that what's going on?
Yeah, and she admitted that, but I think either it's still a trap that they want to get Diamond, or it has to be something else. I can't believe that she laid her cards out so blatantly and so quickly.
Yeah, because then why have such a ruse if you were just going to reveal it once you got dick down once good and all? But I will say her presence as a journalist, it will bring an interesting sort of dynamic that I don't think we've seen in the Power universe. We haven't necessarily seen maybe even in the foreground, sort of character to do with the media. Like obviously we've got different sides of the law being portrayed across the Power universe, but I think this might be quite interesting. She does seem like she will be quite self-righteous, and we've kind of seen instances and cadences of that already. But I don't know if she can get some cool like investigative journalism going on. I think that will be quite interesting, but I don't know. The ball's in your court, Diamond. Like, you were getting mad at Janad for making dumb decisions, but you're getting guided by the Dahlia lips. We didn't even get to talk about the Irish reinforcements. What? Okay, because this reinforces your sort of notion about Walter Flynn being so old school. You really have no one else in the continent of America that you need to call your Irish buddies?
Well, they're still part of the same bigger group, so it makes sense that they come, they reinforce. I didn't find that strange, but they bigged them up as, ooh.
Yeah, like they're all John Wicks or something.
Yeah.
And they all just look like they came from the pub around the corner.
Toby took them down to the ease.
Like, what was the point? Why make such a big deal? But I was like, because you keep saying he's old school. Maybe he doesn't even like Irish Americans. Maybe he just likes Irish people. Because why spend all that resource to bring them? And then they had all of their guns as well. For what?
To show us how Tommy is amazing.
Yeah, but we've been knowing that.
We do.
They didn't feel like worthy adversaries, did they?
Yeah, they felt very like they've been playing in a sandpit this whole time.
Because really, the way that it was written, the way that it was set out, Claude could have taken everyone down. We didn't even need the Irish crew showing up. Mm-hmm. If I may borrow Archer, Vincent Van Gogh, fuck yourself. Is there anything you want to say about the Serbs? I think it looped a nice sort of storyline that we've had recurring in the Power universe, but I think we've kind of laid that to rest now, yeah?
Yeah, like Tommy is giving them everything that he can, and they've said, you know what? It is what it is. Whoever gives us money, and that's it. You know, that story is old from Power. It's all done.
You know what I think is quite interesting? One of the more sort of admirable qualities about Tommy, and that what we love about him so much, and we talked about it when we were talking about Power, is he's so fucking loyal. Like Tommy is, I wouldn't even say there's anyone that's more loyal than him in the Power universe. As unhinged as he can be, as off the handle as he can be, as much of as a loose cannon that he can be, he's always fucking loyal. And what I really appreciate, you know, he might not have the credentials to be a psychologist, but he understands that, you know, personal gain is the most important thing over loyalty. That's why he's able to buy the loyalty or the services of the Serbs. He can buy the Flynns. He can buy Diamond. Well, I like Diamond, so I don't think that, you know, he's that much of a snake, even though his snake can convince a journalist to reveal herself. But that's what I really like. I was very impressed by in this season, because one of the greatest things about Tommy is also what he uses against other people. All right, well, let's talk about Bust Down Liliana.
Yeah, well, she was from Power as well.
Yeah.
You know? She's from Power as well. So it was cool seeing her here. The fact that they built such a quick connection with Tommy.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of it, she knew that Tommy was the one who was going to come there when she was in trouble, and vice versa. It was good to see. It really saddened me to see how she died at the end, because fucking hell, man, Tommy has lost too many people.
But she kept catching bullets off the streets, so it was only a matter of time, to be perfectly honest. Did you ever think that her and Tommy were going to fuck even just once, or you didn't think so?
Yeah, I thought so.
Right.
I think they did, even if it was offset.
Are you just creating your own fan fiction? Are you just creating your own fan fiction?
Yep.
I thought something was potentially going to go on, or maybe that's just because I see Joseph Sikora and I just want him to fuck everyone when I see him. So, you know, maybe that was just me personally, but I really thought they had a connection. But maybe that also shows that you don't always have to fuck each other.
They met when they had no one else and nothing else to go through, you know?
Yeah, and she was kind of coerced to working with Tommy. But
well, there's that bit, but once you gloss over that.
Gloss over, okay.
It felt mutual afterwards.
You know, we talk about this a lot when we talk about characters, and I think, you know, we're coming to the end of the episode, so I think I can mention it now, even though it's going to get distracting. But we talk about, you know, when characters satisfy all that they needed to do, all of the sort of fallout that will be for other characters to need to digest, you know, for upcoming sort of episodes and seasons. Once they've served their purpose, it makes sense to kill off the character. And, you know, that's what we were talking about with Zeke. He never had a chance.
He did not.
But I think Liliana is the same way. Like, I think she served her purpose from the story. But what's interesting was, even though we see the Zeke writing on the wall, I didn't necessarily see that for Liliana, but it also makes sense that that's the end of her story.
It did make sense, but it still was sad, because I think just having Tommy have some stable relationships past the season would have been good for him.
Yeah.
He doesn't get that serenity at the end of it, because his life has been chaotic and through.
But Tom, you don't think about Tommy and Serenity together, do you?
No.
He's going to be a restless soul for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll love and support him along the way.
For sure.
Do you have any hopes, dreams, or predictions for season 2?
Nah, Tommy brings chaos wherever he goes, so I cannot even try and fathom what will happen, but I'll be there for it. It's one of those shows that however the wind blows across Tommy, you'll just be there for it, You'll love it, you'll appreciate it, and yeah.
I need him to find another redhead. Seeing him get off on a redhead gets me off.
Oh, wait, Kate is back.
Hey.
We do not shame.
Maybe it's high time we do shame OT. Well, House of Dragons.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good. Fuck off, callous haters.
It was while seeing a black bastard. I was like, wait, what?
Well, keep out, friends and lovers. We'll absolutely be covering House of the Dragons when the season is over. But thank you so much, friends and lovers, for joining us another week in the For Your Reference household. Usually, we'll finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference, but we've come to the end of Power. August, OT, how are you feeling?
Oh, very nice. It's been a good month. I think appreciating Power and all it's brought to the entertainment value in our lives.
Yeah.
It can't be left unsaid.
Absolutely. And make sure, because we know you're super nasty. So if you haven't even watched all of the Power and you're here and you're listening to it, go and watch it. It's fucking great. And then DM us. I love a good fight. Or you can love us in the DMs as well. But usually fighting is our default, right, OT?
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag justice for Goro, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
I guess our recommendations instead of our usual For Your Reference segment is the Power Show, Ghost, Raising Kanan, as well as Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
If you would like to know about OT's Dahlia Lips on Twitter and Instagram, we're at For Your Refpod.
Write us an email at hello@frpodcast.com.
We're also on Irish Reinforcement Podcast if you'd like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.